All right. Welcome to our 4 o'clock Simply and Easy Live. I am super excited to be here today, guys. This is our second weekend. We got the first week out of the way. It went very well, I thought. Very honored to have the Muddy Boots Gardener on, as well as Lion Crest Outdoors with Farmer Q. That was wonderful. So we've kind of got figured out how we want this to go on a weekly basis now. So what I really want to do is highlight other people growing food. So that's what I'm going to do. I've got a very special guest for today. We are going to keep it to an hour. So I'm going to try to pay attention to the chat as much as possible, but I really want to get as much information from our guest as possible as well. So I am going to bring on very special guest, good friend, farmer friend of mine from my area, Jenni from Natural Borders Farms. Hey there.
Hi there.
Looks
Hi.
great. Glad to have you. Looks like
Great
you're out
to
by.
be on here.
It looks like you're out by your greenhouse.
Yeah, I came down here. Thought it'd be a little quieter.
I understand. What do you have going on there? Looks like you've got stuff growing already.
Yeah, we got all sorts of goodies. Got some tomatoes and some eggplants, some flowers and herbs and stuff going back over here. So
Fantastic.
yep.
Looks like you got a good start. I'm actually just starting my peppers and tomatoes this week. So I held off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we kind of jumped the gun a little early, so
there is nothing wrong with that as long as you're keeping them alive, right? So you'll have them a little early.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
So no, very cool.
Yep.
Very cool. So for the people that are on or going to be watching on the replay, where exactly are you guys located? Because we've got people from all over the place that will see this, all over. So why don't you just let people know where you're at?
Yeah, we're currently located in Howard City, Michigan. We're in the process of kind of moving our operation later this fall. But yeah, so we got some honeybees, and right now we're currently tapping maple trees. We boiled down our first run yesterday of maple sap. So
very cool. I saw that on your Facebook that you guys were doing some tapping your maple trees. So that looks like fun. That's something we haven't gotten into here yet.
Yeah.
So, how much maple do you guys get out of that? How much syrup?
The other day we only collected about 40 gallons of sap. So, and the sugar content in that right now is about 3%.
Okay.
So, in essence, for every 30 gallons of sap, it's 1 gallon of syrup.
Right on. How many trees are you tapping?
Oh.
Are you there?
There we go.
How many trees are you guys tapping? Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I can see you good.
Yeah, it kind of cut out a little bit.
How many trees are you guys tapping?
We currently have 60 taps in.
Okay, so you're staying busy for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
That's cool. So I'm really curious about your bees. Because I want to get some from you this spring. So are they staying alive?
Perfect timing because the beekeeper just walked in.
Right on. I was hoping he was there. So were you able to keep them alive this winter?
Yeah, we got about, I don't know, we had 25 going in the winter. And just the other day, yesterday, in one of the yards over here, we had 3 still alive out of, I think, 5.
Okay.
Which is typical. You'll lose 70%.
Sure. What are you guys, is there anything you do in the winter to keep them alive?
Yeah, we usually wrap them in tar paper, put some sawdust up top, and then give them some, you want to give them some dry sugar just to lick on.
Okay.
Just to, supplement them for spring.
Sure.
Because they'll blow through the honey usually about now. They're probably out of their honey reserves about right now.
Right.
So you'll want the dry sugar. little bit earlier. We usually do it about end of January. We'll put dry sugar in.
Okay, and that gets them.
And
through the
usually
rest of it till
there's a lot of it there when we get it.
very
that
cool.
in
Yeah,
with
I'm
that?
hoping you can teach me something about growing bees this year. That's the one thing new I want to add to the farm is bees. Not a whole bunch, maybe a hive. So nothing in competition, but I'd like to have my own honey for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she gave me approval to get to 100 hives, so
Right
I'm
on.
going.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Once you got the approval, run with it. So,
Right.
so how big of garden space are you guys growing? I know you're starting a CSA this year, so that's fantastic. We talked about that last fall a little bit, so I'm glad to see you went forward with that. How big a garden space? How many beds are you guys running?
Ooh, how many got? 12 up front?
Yeah.
I think 12.
And then we do more of like kind of an open garden space instead of like how you do the certain long garden beds.
Yep.
So we've got roughly at least close to a half an acre or so of open garden space there. So
Right on. In production, that's what you'll end up with, about a half acre.
pardon?
So that's what you'll end up with in production, about a half acre.
Sorry, our internet's horrible over here. We can barely hear you.
The fog is messing it up.
I know. I looked out the window too before I started, and it's getting really foggy up here. Well, it looks like we're having some technical difficulties, so hopefully, if we can get that straightened out, they'll jump back on here. I know I'm really excited about starting bees myself. That's something we've wanted to do for, golly, I don't know, a couple years for sure. But all right, it looks like they may be back on, so I'm gonna have them jump in here. Hey, I can see you again. You disappeared on me. Can you hear me better now, or?
Yeah, we can hear you a little bit now. It's cutting in and out a little bit. We're gonna step outside and see if maybe the greenhouse is interfering.
No problem. I know what it's like living up in the boonies. We just ended up getting decent internet here, gosh, just a few weeks ago. Well, I guess a few months ago, excuse me.
Oh,
Hey, Scott Hebert, thanks for stopping in. I appreciate you, mister. Yeah, so we ended up going with Cassair. Who do you guys use for your internet where you're at?
we got HughesNet
Okay.
satellite internet.
Yep. We tried them a few years back, and then we ended up going without actual internet for a couple years. We just used our phones and whatnot. And then last year, when everybody started working from home and going to school from home and all of that, we ended up with Cassair, and that works really, really well. So we've been pretty happy with it. But I don't think it's available everywhere. But it's direct signal. It's not exactly satellite, but it's direct signal. I guess they call it microwave signal or something. I don't know. So back to your CSA. Tell me all about it. Did you say you guys have about a half acre in production? Or
Pardon?
you will? Are you guys, you say you're going to have about a half acre in production in veggies?
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have about a half acre or so to veggies. So
That's a lot.
yeah. Yep, it's a lot.
I know. I did check out some of the pictures from your garden off your Facebook and whatnot, and it looked beautiful, from past seasons. I'm running about a quarter acre in bed space, and that's all I can handle by myself, quite honestly.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a little over a quarter acre this year because I am putting in about another 15 beds, but nonetheless, I'll be maxed out by myself. I'll have to get some help in probably.
Yeah. Well, that'll be cool.
Yeah. So tell me about your plans for your CSA. I'm excited for you. I know we talked about this last fall, so this is your first year doing that. I know you've been providing food for the community for years, but as far as the CSA goes, tell me all about it. What do you guys got going on? How many weeks are you running?
Yeah, we haven't, we're figuring about at least 16 weeks.
Gotta love the internet connections up here. Let's see if that gets straightened out a little bit.
You there? Oh, there we go.
I'm still here. Video's a little blurry. There you are. I see you.
Okay, well, my screen went black there. I'm trying to figure out the service, but
No problem.
yeah, so yeah, we're looking at about 16 weeks. And yeah. So we're just trying to kind of educate our own selves in it since it's our first year.
I know. We
So
talked a little bit about that. So,
yeah,
and by all means, feel free to lean into me if there's anything I can do for you guys for sure, as far as that stuff goes.
appreciate it. Appreciate it.
I think it's fantastic. We run a 15-week CSA, and then if the weather's good and the veggies are there, we'll do a bonus week. But we're planning for a 15-week just because sometimes spring can come late and fall can come early here in Michigan. So just it was so iffy last year, and if spring comes early, then fantastic. If we get our last frost June 1st, then not so fantastic.
Yes. Yeah, that's why we're hoping to grow, and we have a secondary greenhouse down there that we're hoping to have set up ready to transplant some of them tomato plants, that kind of stuff that you've seen down there. So
right. Yeah, and
hopefully
start early. You guys might be able to.
June 1st frost.
Yeah, I think you guys will get a jump on it, being you've got stuff planted out and growing pretty good already. You should be just fine there.
Yeah.
I know I'm really looking forward to it myself. I can't wait to get seeds started this week. That's my happy time, It is and it isn't, because that's when all the work starts on the daily, So a lot of watering and all of that stuff. But now, how do you plan out? I know you're still learning, and figuring it out. But how did you go about planning out what you're going to have every week, for the 16 weeks, or have you not still working it out?
Still kind of working that out a little bit. I mean, I've really trying to hone in on the like gardening calendar and that kind of stuff of how soon should I start or restart certain plants and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, it's all a learning process for sure. I don't know if it'll help you or not. I know I don't know if you saw it. I put out a video on my YouTube channel a couple weeks ago, all about Google Calendar and using that for crop planning. And for me, that's a game changer this year for planning out. I've decided what I'm going to have every week, based on kind of what I grew last year, and some new stuff. So I figured out what veggies I want to have available what week, and then I work backwards on the Google Calendar, set it up as an event. It shows basically a bed space, and reminds me when I need to plant it and harvest it. So if you haven't yet, check it out. It'll probably be pretty helpful.
That is a good idea.
I know I learned a lot last year.
That was a very good idea.
I bumped my head a lot last year. It was successful and it went good and the customers were happy. But it's still, the first year you try anything different, even if you've been doing similar, it's it's different. So we just launched our pre-sale for our CSA this week. And we actually launched it to our previous customers first. Of course, we're going to give them the opportunity first. We're still limiting it. I decided to back mine off as far as what I'm going to pre-sell this year. Still planning to grow that many boxes that I sold for last year, but I'm only going to pre-sell about half of them and then sell the other ones as a weekly box. I believe. So just in
cool.
case, and just to take the pressure off and allow me to experiment with some other crops a little bit. So we'll see how it goes. You know, I don't know. Hopefully I don't end up with too much left over, but I don't think I will. So, but no, I'm really, really excited
No,
that
I
you
don't
guys
think
are.
you'll have a problem.
No, and that's kind of what I figured out. You know, I'm on a big push, um, obviously for growing food and feeding people, but to help or to encourage other people to do the same thing, right? Like you guys, I'm so excited that you're providing the CSA
Yeah.
for your neighborhood, right? Or your normal customers. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't see it as competition, and I
Yeah.
told you guys that in the fall. I think we could use 50 of us,
Yep.
you know, quite honestly. So
Yeah.
I think it's
Really.
great.
And we noticed too, like with, you know, you can always give your customers additional produce if you have additional produce that might end up going bad within, you know, a couple of days or whatever. So that way there's not as much veggies, fresh veggies going to waste.
Right. Yep. And that's like for me, I had totally the opposite problem last year. You know, I mean, I didn't overpromise or underdeliver. I delivered what I promised, but I sold out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I had just enough to feed everybody I had. Like nothing went to waste last year. So we barely had enough to do our own canning and the things we wanted. And that's part of why I backed off a little bit, you know, because yes, we can maximize more on what we have. We can get better at what we're doing for sure, because we're still learning like the rest of us. But even when we maximize, we can only grow so much on the land that we have. So, you know, figuring out what that is realistically, and then working off that, and kind of, you know, running my farm or my business off that, I think is important. But you guys are rocking. You know, you've got a lot of extras that you do. You know, for sure. You know, the honey and the bees and the maple syrup and the soap and all the good stuff. You know, so I was gonna ask you, as far as your soaps and whatnot that you have on your website, do you guys ship those
Yeah.
anywhere in the country?
Yep. We ship them anywhere in the country. And we do also offer like local pickup. So like if you just purchase it online, don't want to have to worry about paying when you get here at the farm, and we can have it ready and packed up, and all you have to do is swing in and get it. So
Right
We
on.
shipped all the way to Hawaii.
Right
once,
on.
I think.
yeah, we shipped to Hawaii and California before.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. If somebody's watching, say from Texas, and they want some of your goat soap, they could order it for sure. So, no, that's awesome.
Yep, we ship everything, the maple syrup. So
Very cool. So I know you guys do things a little bit differently than I do, which there's 100 ways to skin a cat as far as growing food goes. I'm just happy when people are growing food, you know. But I know we share the same philosophy as far as you know, zero chemicals or anything like that added. But what kind of tillage practices do you guys do? Which, you know, there's no right or wrong in my opinion. I'm just always curious to see how other people are doing things.
well, we just basically use kind of like a hand rototiller to get us started. And then when the plants start growing up too big to use a rototiller in between the rows and stuff, then we just plants are established, we don't really do too much tilling.
Right. So, question. So when you're tilling all the time, and that's bringing up, you know, I know that brings up some weed seeds. How do you guys deal with your weed pressure? Because that's, for me, that's, you know, I get to a point in the season where I feel like I'm a professional weed puller, not a farmer. So
Right. No, what we do is like, especially like in the rows, some of the rows are mulch. And that also does, you know, help with keeping the moisture in. But we don't like to use plastic and that kind of stuff. So we won't lay down any like plastic ground covers.
Right. Oh. Are you there?
Yep.
A lot of times the
I
road
can
tiller
hear
just
you
kind of
now.
take care of it as long as we plant them at a certain distance apart. Oh, that's good.
Right on.
I think there's a slight delay.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a delay there. I think you're back now.
Good 5G around here.
Yeah.
I know, right? That's funny. So basically you're just planting your plants far enough apart so you can weed in between them easily and just stay on top of it then that way. Did I catch that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. That's cool. And that's why I'm always curious to see how other people are doing things. I'm doing 30-inch by 50-inch or 50-foot beds, and I'm trying to do what I call minimum till. Okay, some call it no till, but I don't believe it to be no till
Yep.
because I do an initial till when I build my bed. Okay, so I'll till it so I can build my bed, and then I don't till it after that. I will broad fork it, and that's in
Mm-hmm.
trying to keep weed pressure down. Now the first year, even the first 2 years, weeds are still pretty bad if you don't stay on top of them. But after that, it dies down a little bit. This year, I'm trying. Actually, I don't like using plastic if I don't have to either. I do use some of the weed fabric for my Salanova beds when I'm growing my lettuce to try to keep
Mm-hmm.
weeds out of those. But I don't use plastic on that. The only place I've used plastic, I guess, would be
Oh yeah.
I tried using it to do some stale seed bedding to prep some beds, and that works okay if your plastic's heavy enough. Otherwise, it just makes a big mess when it falls apart.
Yep.
Now, do you use any cardboard on in your garden?
We haven't. No.
No. I'm gonna try that this year
No.
just to see if it'll help keep the weeds down, but I don't know if it's gonna or not. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we'll see. My issue with it is having um, access to enough compost to cover it because that's an issue. You know,
Yeah.
around here, that's kind of an issue to buy 60 yards of
Oh yeah.
compost. it's it's tough. I
Yep.
was talking with Marksman Pete the other day up in Lakeview. You know, they supply all the family farm and homes and whatnot around here. And we can get compost from them, but we have to buy it by the
Mm-hmm.
semi load. So you're talking 16 pallets, which, yeah, I don't know if
Oh
I
yeah.
need quite that much. Not on a quarter acre anyway.
Yeah.
So,
No.
so I don't know. We try to make our own compost around here as much as we can, but I can never make enough for what we need. What do you guys do for composting? Anything?
Basically in the fall, like once the garden's done and kind of a little bit throughout the winter and stuff, we'll use some compost that we have because we have goats and chickens and pigs and that kind of stuff here too. So we have a little stockpile there going in the goat pen there that we just kind of throw some out, and then when the spring hits, we'll till it all in and
Yep.
let it decompose through the winter.
Right. That's cool. We're kind of doing the same. We've got a couple goats, not as many as you guys. We've just got a couple goats, and they're small goats, so they don't give us a whole lot of
Yeah.
composting manure, but they give us a little. And then we do have our two yearling cows, which are producing plenty right now, but that won't be ready for quite some time.
Right.
So I'm actually looking at doing a different composting system this year for all the leaves and all the vegetable scraps and all of that stuff. So I don't know if you
Mhm.
guys are familiar with I talked about this a little bit on last week's live stream, but the Johnson Sue Bioreactor. I don't know if you guys have seen that or not. It's a cylindrical looking thing. It's pretty slick, and there's been a variation made of it
No,
where you can compost basically in a 6-foot diameter cage. 6 foot tall, make a cage out of, say, cattle panel, 6 foot in diameter, and then do a 2-foot diameter cage in the middle of that for airflow, and then fill that ring with all your stuff, and make sure it stays watered, and that'll break down over the course of time, and you keep adding stuff to it, and works fantastic and keeps it contained. So I know it will work for manures as well. So easy solution.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna place a couple of them around the property so they're closer to my bed spaces, and then I don't have to move compost so much. Maybe.
Yeah.
So back to your CSA. Enough about me composting. Back to your CSA. When are you guys planning on starting that?
We're thinking probably we've gave our customers a heads up on around first part of June. I don't think we've actually set like an official date yet, just because we also like to do a lot of wild forage goods in the first
Right.
box or two.
Yep.
So and then hopefully depending there we can, get like radishes and that kind of stuff that we're starting.
Yeah, they grow
up,
fast.
so.
You should be able to have radishes quick. So those are
Yeah.
always first on my list too for the first couple of weeks. Radishes and greens is what my boxes consist of usually.
Yep.
So yeah, I know you guys do a lot of foraging. I go find morels, and that's the extent at this point of my foraging. But I know you guys go find all kinds of stuff. So for people that haven't ever foraged or know what's out there, what the heck are you getting? What can we eat out there?
Well, in the springtime, there's actually quite a few things. There's late May, first part of June, there starts the wild ramps or leeks. They're like a wild leek. They got a little tiny bulb on the end that's kind of like a garlicky onion flavor. And then we also get fiddler heads, which is like a fern head that's kind of curled up and it looks like a little fiddle.
Right. Yeah.
And there's some other springtime mushrooms that pop up even before or just around the time that morels do. So
no kidding. I'm always leery. Well,
mushrooms and stuff.
Didn't you get certified or take a class or something on foraging, if I recall? Or am I just dreaming?
I got a certificate for mushroom. I forgot how many. There's 20 so different mushrooms that we can legally sell in Michigan with a certificate. So
okay, wild.
Yeah.
Like I'm always leery. If it's not a morel, I don't eat it. Just what I mean. If I'm picking it, if you were to pick it, I would eat it.
I don't blame you. Right.
So
yeah, I don't blame you.
I know Jeannie's talked about doing some foraging too, and learning more about that just from a survival standpoint. Just to know what's out there, not from a selling standpoint, but just to be able to live off of more things that are out there. So we're pretty curious about that. Maybe we can pick your brain as we go forward a little bit.
Definitely, yeah, because we found, there's, as well as there's wild raspberries. Towards the end of June, first part of July, there's what they call June berries, or service berries are also known as, and like wild blueberries and that kind of stuff that are out there as well. So there's lots of different wild edibles out there. Pine needles are edible. They mostly use those for like teas and that kind of stuff. So
we did make some pine needle tea this past year.
Oh, good.
I liked it.
Like it.
I liked it. The rest of the family, I don't think we're huge fans, but I liked it myself. I thought it was pretty tasty.
Oh, that's good.
And we do have wild raspberries here, a whole bunch of them. So that is one thing that we do collect and make some muffins, or
Yeah.
Jeannie makes muffins or bread or something out of it every year. That's kind of our fun. But that's the extent of it. Raspberries and morels for us. But I'd like to learn the rest. I know I've seen fiddleheads back behind our place. But I've never picked them. And I think are the wild leeks, do they smell oniony? Like are they very, do they have that odor?
Yeah, they have two. I like to refer to them as like a rabbit ear. They have two of those that come off the base of the bulb, and the bulb, of course, is underground. And then at the base of that neck, it's kind of a purplish color. So, but when you even pick off like the leaf, the one spot, like if you smell it, it'll smell kind of more of an onion smell.
Okay. I think we have some of those as well. I know my dad, he was all into all of that stuff. So I remember him he would just call them wild onions,
Yeah.
and would eat them. But I
Yeah.
hadn't really actually went and foraged for them myself yet. But we may do some of that this spring. So you say all of that is ready early spring?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Usually around late May, first part of June, just depending on kind of the weather,
Yeah. That's a big variable around here.
So
I'm about over winter.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I'm ready for spring, man.
oh yeah. I was just joking with Jason the other day and said we should really be moving to Tennessee.
Yeah, we've been pondering other states ourselves. We're like, this is ridiculous. We don't even like winter, and we've lived here our entire life.
Yeah. Right.
I know that for myself, a longer growing season would be great.
Yes.
I'm jealous.
Yep.
I have other YouTube channels and stuff that I follow on here. And you see them down south, and they're already growing stuff and planting stuff out a month ago. And I'm thinking, my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm just jealous. Kudos
Yep.
to them. I'd be on it too if I could,
No,
for sure. But it looks like you guys are getting a great jump on it.
Right.
That's crazy. So
Yeah.
I was going to ask you now. Last year,
That's what we were hoping for.
oh man, I'm hoping for early spring. Now, are you also still planning on doing farmers markets this year as well? Then,
Depending on how things go, yeah. I know we were talking about like doing the Pearson Township Farmers Market, and then hitting up a few Saturdays at the Howard City's Farmers Market. But
right? Yeah, that's probably my plan as well. At least for Pearson, if I have the stuff available. Like I said last year, my big problem was I couldn't grow
Right.
enough. I mean, I had a good season. I mean, everything grew pretty well, but people were just wanting it. So, switching to a CSA last year for us was fantastic. You just have to be careful. And like I told you guys, and I know you're plenty smart about this, but the biggest caution for me is always don't overpromise and underdeliver, right? So if you think you can feed 30 families, sell 20. You know what I mean? Just to be safe. At least your first year or two going in is what I would probably suggest. Hey, Muddy Boots Gardner, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in.
Yeah, definitely.
So have you decided how many? I mean, you guys got a half acre, so you can feed twice as many as I can, for sure, if you're, depending on how you're growing things. So have you decided how many CSA shares you guys are gonna try to feed this year?
I think we're gonna start off with maybe at least 15, depending on if we get more like full shares, then we might, keep it at that 10 to 15. But if we get more of like people wanting to do like a half share individual shares, then we'll open up some more slots. But
for sure, that's the common sense part of it, right? So That's cool. No, I think that's
Yeah.
really smart. I think that's really smart. A good number. That's basically what I started my number off last year with. You know, um, I let a few more squeak in as at the beginning of the season because I knew I had enough food ready. Um, but you got to be careful. There's definitely a limit there, and it's really easy to go, yeah, sure. Here's another.
Mhm.
So, how big are your? So, what are you thinking for your share sizes this year? What do you? Yeah, have you figured that out yet? Or I know I've made some changes myself for this year a little bit.
Well, yeah, we're gonna do like a full share, which would be roughly like 4 to 5 people, and then our half share would be let's say it would be 2 to 3 people, and then of course our individual share is roughly 1 person. So
Right. Yep. That's pretty good. Um, I know. So last year I did I call them single shares and full shares, or yeah, single shares and family shares is what I
Mhm.
call them. Single shares and family shares. Um, and my single share was 1 half bushel box. Okay, and that varies from week to week. The
Mhm.
first couple weeks, obviously, you're not going to have as many, but I would say on average, I averaged probably 9.5. I think my average was like 9.5 items per box. Okay, so so I
Yep.
did a half bushel box for my single shares, and then I did a 3/4 bushel box for my family shares. Okay.
Mm.
Um,
Mhm.
which was okay, because that's a lot. I mean, 3/4 bushels. I mean, and usually, and as well as I, once you get into the season, you're overflowing the box. You're using bags and stuff because you got melons and squash and all this other stuff
Yeah.
going on. You know, but as a
Right.
standard,
Right.
it won't all fit in the box. But as a standard, that's what I did. But this year,
Yeah.
I've actually switched. I'm keeping the half bushel box for my single shares, but I'm doing 2 half bushel boxes for my family shares. So I'm doing an entire bushel basically for the
Oh.
family shares. Um, just to
Nice.
add a little bit more
Yep.
value there, right? Uh, Even though the family shares, I actually give a little bit of a price break, but nonetheless, I want to make sure there's enough food for them. But on top of that, as far as for me planning wise, it's a lot easier for me to plan for, let's say, 20 half bushel boxes than it is
Mhm.
10 half bushel boxes and 5 3/4 bushel boxes, right? So from a standardization and planning
Right.
standpoint,
Right.
keep it to one box size and then just doubling that for us, I think is going to be a game changer this year. Even if you're talking about storing or hauling
Mhm.
or anything, it's just everything stacks easier too. So that's just, again,
Oh
thousand
yeah.
ways to do the same thing. Not, I would never tell anybody their business, but for me, that's one change we're making after some lessons from the first year. You know, um, that
Mhm.
and I raised my prices a little bit. So
Oh, good.
I did. I
That's
had
good.
to, and not. They're still very, very reasonable. Okay, and they're still the best price
Yeah.
people will get from me. It's way better than my farmers market price or my retail price. But
Yep. Yeah.
you know, seeds and everything else pretty much doubled this year for one, and for two, it's a lot
Oh
of work.
yeah.
It's an awful lot of work, and we're delivering a fantastic product. And also, last year we did free delivery. So if we're going to offer free delivery, we've got to be able to cover that expense a little bit. So we're not,
Right.
it's not an added expense, but we have to consider it into our CSA shares just a little bit. So for all those factors, we did have to bring it up just a touch, but
Mhm.
I'd rather do it now to where we want it for the next few years than change it every year. So we just made a
Exactly.
decision to make a change. We can only sell so many, right? So um, we're not, people are still getting a heck of a value for what we're offering. But we are doing
Right.
1 day farm pickup. I know you guys are doing farm pickup, which I think is fantastic. So, and we are switching to 1 day delivery and 1 day farm pickup instead of just deliveries this year. So
Yep. Good
I
deal.
think it was smart on your end.
Well, you're welcome.
I think it's smart, and a lot of people too would like to come out to the farm once in a while and see where their food's growing anyway. So.
Yep.
So for a few minutes here, I want to get back. I've got a couple more questions for you guys. But why don't we take a quick break and jump into the comments and just see if anybody has any questions. Any questions for you as far as your bees or anything you guys are doing, or any questions for me? We'll just jump in there and see what's going on. I see Crystal has joined us today. Thank you. Muddy Boots Gardner. Muddy Boots Gardner was actually a guest of mine last week. He jumped up here on my first live, and it was a pleasure to have him. Of course, Jeannie's in the chat with us. Mr. Scott Hebert. I don't think he's still around, but I appreciate him stopping by. I actually followed Scott before I started market gardening. I don't know if you've seen his channel, and he's not doing it full time anymore, but he's still gardening as a hobby. But I followed Scott Hebert the year prior to me starting and the year last year. So he was a little bit of an influence. He's a market gardener as well, and he's pretty good at it. So good dude. Interesting dude. Very artistic. Let's see. Okay, the compost place that I'm talking about, Crystal asked a question. Let's see here. I think I can put this up. Nope. Let's see. I'm still kind of figuring this out. Oh, yeah, that's how we do it. All right, so Crystal asked, she was asking my wife if she had the name of the compost place, and Jeannie couldn't remember. It was Marksman Pete Company. I believe they're actually out of Iowa, but they have a place in Lakeview, Michigan, which isn't terribly far from us. So they will deal directly with the farms, but you do have to order a full truckload, basically, like we said. So 16 pallets is what it was, which isn't unreasonable. I'm still not sure. I may still order one. It's about, I don't know, about $1,900 worth of compost, which, depending on what you're doing, depending on the scale, it could be useful. So that's Marksman Pete. Let's see. I think she might have actually had one more question. So I'm going to jump there real quick. Throw this up. Do you all use plastic for weed barrier? Any tips for new CSA starters? So Jenni answered that question for them. No, they don't use any plastic, which is phenomenal.
Nope.
I do use plastic, not so much for weed barriers. I am trying to get away from that. I will use landscape fabric with pre-burnt holes for my lettuce on occasion. But weed barrier, I'm actually going to switch over to using cardboard with some compost on top. I'm going to see how that works and just stay on top of cultivating. You can use the large tarps to do some stale seed bedding if you have the time to let them sit and kill all the weeds prior to. But no, as a general practice, we don't use a lot of plastic, only on our hoop houses for the most part. So Muddy Boots Gardner saying hello to Natural Borders Farm. All right. How do you find your customers? Okay, that's a great question, Crystal. I will let Jenni answer this question if she can see it, and then I will give my answer as well. So, Jenni, the question was, how do you find your customers, and what do you do for advertising?
Well, most of our customers have come from using platforms, like Facebook or Instagram. We do have a YouTube channel. We don't have very many followers. But most of our advertising is just kind of showing up at the farmers markets and talking with the customers there directly in word of mouth. So, in most of our advertising, we do, like I said, on the social media platforms and our website. So.
Yep, I think that's a perfect answer, and that's pretty much how I did it as well. It kind of depends on what you're doing. If you are brand new to market gardening or growing food to feed people, I really suggest. I mean, this is just a suggestion, but I think farmers markets are the way to go. Because for one, it gets your face and your food out into the local community, and you get to know your customers. That's the hands down, in my opinion, the best way if you're a brand new farmer. Now, if you already know how to grow food, and you're very confident in what you can grow and how much of it you can grow on a regular basis, then a CSA is fantastic. And the way that we did it pretty much the same way. We waited. We didn't jump into a CSA our first year. So we had a small customer base already built. And then the way that we sell all of our CSA shares in the past is we use a website. We use Square. We use a Square site, but we pull almost all of those customers from our Facebook farm page. So, excuse me. We really don't use our YouTube channel here to pull customers by any means. I try to use it mostly to add value and to help other people learn how to grow food or just encourage them to do it. Because a lot of times that's all people needs is just a push to get out there and do it, give it a shot. But as far as advertising goes, I would say your social media platform that you are comfortable with is probably hands down going to be um, your best least expensive way of advertising. I never pay for boosting advertising on Facebook ever. I used to do that a little bit when I was in real estate, and it's you can get just as much reach organically if you're giving people value. So I would say jump all over Facebook if you use it. Oh, other than that, word of mouth works fantastic. So even if you don't want to be on social media, if you're starting a CSA, odds are it's not going to be
Phone
a,
died.
a 20 to 30 or 40 person CSA. You're probably going to want to start with 10 or
I was
15.
at 60
Um,
some percent when we.
so then I would say word of mouth, you can still get there with friends and family for sure. So we will, hopefully that helps, Crystal. So did I hear you right, Jenny? Is your battery running low? Are we going to lose you? We may have already lost her. I'm not sure. I know batteries can drain pretty quickly when you're going live and running videos for sure. So hopefully I'm going to drop her back down there. If she comes back to life, I will pull her back up, hopefully, because I enjoy having her up here. So I hope that answered your question, Crystal, as far as, all right, it looks like she dropped off. So thank you very much, Natural Borders Farm, for joining me today. It was an honest pleasure. I think you guys are doing the right thing, and I'd like to see a lot more people doing it. So, and that's a big reason why I joined Shed Wars, guys. If you're part of the Shed Wars community and you watch this, you're watching it live or you watch it on the replay, I am very, very, very passionate about growing food and feeding people. There's 1,000 ways to do it, and I'm not really dogmatic on any particular way. Definitely not the way that we do it. But I am here to encourage you guys to grow food, and not just for yourself. If you have the ability, I see a lot of people talk about not wanting to grow too much because they don't want the excess. I say grow the excess and feed other people, because there's going to be some people that just can't grow food for themselves. So let's see. Oh, looks like Jeannie asked a question, but Jenny's gone. Her battery died. So, but I definitely appreciate having them guys up. Let's see here. All right. Oh, she's trying to jump back on, it looks like. Let's see. Hey, I see you again. Are you there?
Hey. Sorry, my phone had died.
Well, I was afraid of that. I heard you say something about your phone was gonna die, so no problem whatsoever. Glad to have you back. So I really, really appreciate you guys joining me today. It's really a pleasure here. So
Yeah.
for somebody just getting started, gardening for market, okay? Growing to feed other people. What's one piece of advice you
Yeah, well,
could
thanks
give
for
them
having us.
from lessons learned? You guys catch that? I can see you.
Skip.
Yeah.
Did you guys hear the question? Might be too much of a delay here. I'm not sure. I'm hoping not.
Plant quadruple what you're thinking.
There you go. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. That's what I was
I'd
saying
have to agree. Plant more than you think, because you never know. Pests take over, weeds take over.
Kids eat it, which that's a good thing.
The kids are the worst. I think that's perfect, guys, because that's always mine too.
Can you hear us all right?
I can hear you good now. Yep.
There.
I can hear you. But that's my advice too, guys.
You can see us, but you can't hear us. Is it on mute?
No, mic's on.
I can hear you. There you are.
Yeah, can you hear us?
I can hear you really good now. Yep. So I can hear you. Looks like we're having a little bit of a delay, but that would be my advice as well, is that plant way extra than you think you're going to need. Basically plan.
Yeah.
I hate to say it that way, but plan to fail, right? Plan for crop failure, because you are going to have it. So I know still I'm planting about 50% more than I need, even at this point, even though my fall off rate isn't that. I'm still planting for it just in case, because you just don't know.
The delay is really good.
I know it.
Yep.
Yeah, the delay is pretty rough there. But I think that's fantastic advice, guys. Overplant, plan to fail. And when you're gardening, failure is not a bad thing. It's not a win or lose situation. It's I like to think of it as a win or learn situation, because every failure I had from last season, you can darn sure bet that mistake will be corrected this year, one way or another. I see ya. So speaking of growing more and planning to fail, did you guys have one epic failure last year? I know I did. Did you guys have at least one?
What was the question?
Did you guys have at least one really good failure as far as crop loss goes last year? Because I did.
Corn. Probably.
Yeah.
Greatest. Tomatoes did excellent.
Not sure the audio's a little rough there. Can you guys still hear me?
Yep.
I can hear you, but it's a pretty strong echo. Not sure what happened. Do you have a YouTube channel on, maybe? Or is it just in the delay?
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
No big deal, guys. Looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulty. Jason and Jenny of Natural Border Farms, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me today. I really, really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure. I cannot wait to catch up with you guys off camera, so we can talk about some bees when I can come grab some here, whenever they'll be ready in the next few months. No rush, but I can't wait to get started. So I definitely appreciate you guys. Anybody in the chat, make sure you go and check out Natural Borders Farms YouTube page, or check them out on Facebook if you are local in the area and are interested in possibly joining their CSA, or maybe ordering some goat soap if you're not local. So they've got some great products on their website. So make sure you check them out. Again, that was Jason and Jenni of Natural Borders Farms. And I really, really appreciate them coming on. So it looks like we're coming up on that hour mark. We've got a couple more minutes to go. So I'm going to stick on here for just another minute or two. We'll see if we have any more questions in the chat. And if not, I think I'm going to go eat some dinner. So I appreciate you guys watching, jumping on and joining us. Appreciate all of the questions we got to answer today. And I cannot wait to see you next week at 4 o'clock. And we'll see who our new guest is going to be next week. So again, huge shout out and big thanks to Natural Borders Farms, Muddy Boots Gardner for dropping in and saying hi, Crystal Zinda, and Scott Hebert. So y'all have a great day.